I'd like to call the regular meeting to order, please. Monday, May 13th, 2013. And please join Councilmember Pizzillo in the Pledge of Allegiance and stand for the invocation. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Almighty Father, please look over this council, provide wisdom as we get to do the business of the city. Provide wisdom that we make great decisions for our fellow citizens. Also, please, harm's way, all those in military working, protect us. Please provide safety for them. In thy name, amen.
Amen.
All right.
Thank you, Joe. All right, the first presentation under communications tonight, and before let me tell you, everybody is at the table tonight, so all accounted for. And we have 4 communications tonight, so we'll start out with the first one, is the presentation to recognize Boy Scout Daniel Benito for assisting staff in completing the historical Goodyear alleyway painting project. Matt, please present.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to be here with you today to tell you about the outstanding contributions that my friend Daniel Benvenuto made to the City of Goodyear community in the last month. On April 13th, 2013, Daniel and a team of 20 volunteers assisted city staff in completing the Dress for Success alley fence address painting project in historic Goodyear. The goal of this project was to paint house numbers on alley fences throughout historic Goodyear in order to provide a sense of place for residents and to also provide a helpful tool for public safety officials when responding to emergencies. City staff began working with Daniel in October of 2012. Daniel was instrumental in the planning stages of this project, walking the many alleyways of the neighborhood to determine the composition of each house's alley fence. This effort allowed staff to understand critical logistical details that were necessary in planning a project of this magnitude. After the necessary project waivers were returned, Daniel demonstrated tremendous leadership in shepherding every aspect of this project, including fundraising, purchasing the actual materials, recruiting and organizing volunteers, instructing volunteers on how to complete the project, and supervising their actual work. In all, Daniel and his group of volunteers painted house numbers on 66 alley fences in the historic Goodyear community, completing the project in just about 2.5 hours. I'd like to extend my deepest gratitude to Daniel on behalf of Mayor and Council office staff, as well as Neighborhood Services staff. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Mayor Lord for the reading of the letter of recognition.
I'd like to come down. Can I take one of those microphones? And I want David to face the group so they can see him. You did such a good job. I saw some great pictures of you doing your work, and so we just want to make this a special night. So I want you to look out that audience, and of course it's on Granicus. Somebody at home can be watching you, so we're so proud of you. Mayor and Council, letter of recognition. Mr. Daniel, and I always mispronounce names, so we're going to say this right. You tell me your name again.
Benvenuto.
Oh, Benvenuto. So we did say it right. All right. The local Boy Scout troop from 292 showed exemplary leadership skills in assisting the city staff with Dress for Success alley fence dressing painting project on April 13th, 2013. Daniel's dedication distinguished him as a young leader in the West Valley, who through his determination successfully planned and executed this important project. Daniel's organization skills and attention to detail were on full display as he successfully directed, 20 volunteers in the completion of this project in a timely and efficient manner. Daniel's hard work has provided public safety officials with an important resource when responding to emergency and has helped foster a sense of place and community for the residents in the historical Goodyear neighborhood. Daniel has demonstrated the qualities of character and excellence that are truly respected and admired by his peers, fellow scouts, and community. For these reasons, the mayor and this entire council, on behalf of the city Goodyear, Arizona, recognizes your action to be a valuable contribution to our community in keeping up with the finest ideals of citizens and professionalism. And we are so pleased to call you part of Goodyear. I thank you, Daniel. Congratulations. Now is the time for Daniel to speak, so I'm going to turn the microphone over to Daniel?
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone who made this project possible. I couldn't have done it without all my friends and family for support, without Mr. Liguri and Ms. Swetanek, who helped me out through the project and guided me through everything I had to do. And I'd just like to give a big thank you to everyone who made it possible. I think the turnout was great, and I'm happy. Yeah, they're right there.
Okay, where's the family? Family, where's it? Where are you? Just come right up here, please. I want a picture of you and your son. This is an auspicious occasion. Oh, well, then that's great. Come on up. Thank you for being such a responsible parent and teaching your child his many attributes. And it always takes a strong household to create this kind of leadership, and we really thank you for it. So you want a picture here? No, let's put him. He's the important one here. We'll put him in the middle. All right, the next presentation is to proclaim May as the Building Safety Month. Ed Kulik to present.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. May is proclaimed Building Safety Month nationwide. We've had proclamations from the governor. Even the President of the United States has proclaimed this month as Building Safety Month. So I'm representing Arizona building officials, the central chapter. I'm currently the president. And we're looking forward to having a much safer year and making our community much better than it already is.
Well, thank you. And so would you like to stand up next to me while I read that, or are you fine?
Sure.
But, well, all right. Well, I'll take the microphone back. Now, they gave me two because they didn't think I could read this one, so we'll see what happens. But I find this paper cumbersome, so I'm going to give it a go college try here. And Ed, I know people talk about safety, and you know, it's trite when they say the word safety, but when you're in your business, it really means a great deal. And safety is paramount. And so I want to thank you for all your contributions too. So, well, let's see if I can get through this with my eyesight. Oh, that's just great. So, Building Safety Month, May 2013. Whereas our city's continuing efforts to address the critical issues of safety, energy efficiency, and resilience in the built environment that affect our citizen, both in everyday life and in times of natural disaster, gives us confidence that our structures are safe and sound. And whereas our confidence is achieved through devotion of vigilant guardians, that's you, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, laborers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians, dedicated members of the International Code Council, use a governmental consensus process that brings together local, state, and federal officials with expertise in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect Americans in buildings where we live, learn, work, worship, play. And whereas the international codes, the most widely adopted building safety, energy, fire prevention codes in the nation, are used by most U.S. cities, countries, and states. These modern building codes also include safeguards to protect the public from natural disasters, such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildlife fires, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown guardians of public safety. Again, that's you. Or local code officials who assure us of safe, efficient, and livable buildings. Whereas Building Safety Month, code officials keep you safe, the theme for Building Safety Month 2013. It encourages all Americans to raise awareness of the importance of building safety, green and resilient buildings, pools, spas, and hot tub safety, backyard safety, and new technologies in construction industry. Building Safety Month 2013 encourages appropriate steps everyone can take to ensure that places where we live, learn, work, and worship and play are safe and sustainable, and recognizes that countless lives have been saved to the implementation of safety codes by local and state agency. Whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, Americans are asked to consider projects to improve building safety and sustainability at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential services provided to all of us by local and state building departments and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now there be resolved that I, Georgia Lord, the Mayor of Goodyear, Arizona, do proclaim the month of May 2013 as Building Safety Month in the city of Goodyear. And we encourage our citizens to join with their communities by participating in Building Safety Month activities given under my hand in these free United States in the city of Goodyear on the 13th day of May 2013, to which I have caused the seal of the city of Goodyear to be affixed and have made this proclamation public. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, and the third one that we have, the next item, is the National Kids to Parks Day. And David Seed will present an overview. David?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm very excited to share details with the upcoming National Kids to Parks Day that is being held in conjunction with the National Park Trust. The National Park Trust is a nonprofit organization committed to preserving parks today and creating park stewards of tomorrow. As more free time is spent indoors and successive generations grow up with less of a connection to nature and the outdoors, there's a need to build greater awareness of appreciation for the importance of our country's park space and open lands. It is with this effort in mind that the City of Goodyear Parks and Recreation Department has joined with the National Park Trust in holding the National Kids to Parks Day initiative. This Saturday from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., there will be a free event held at Goodyear Community Park commemorating this event. There will be inflatables, relay races, gardening tips, including an arborist presentation, and planned activities for the community to reconnect with outdoor activities of their choice. This is the third year that the program has been offered, and partner organizations include the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Children in Nature Network, the NFL Players Association, America's State Parks, and the National Wildlife Federation. In addition to this Saturday's event, we're going to use it as a springboard opportunity to promote some of our upcoming summer programs, such as swim lessons and open recreation swim.
Wonderful. And I also have a proclamation to read.
Yes.
And am I reading this, presenting this to you, and you will take this, or?
I believe you're going to read that.
I'm going to read this. All right. Then I'll stay right here at the seat if you don't mind. National Kids to Parks Day, May 18, 2013. Whereas May 18, 2013 is the third National Kids to Park Day organized and launched by the National Park Trust. And whereas National Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit America's parks. And whereas it's important to introduce a new generation to our nation's parks because of the decline in park attendance over the last decades. And whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle, to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes mellitus, hypertension. I tell you what, they give me some big words, don't they? Hypercholesterolemia, which is not correct. So if anybody has the right way to pronounce it, I'm welcome to that one. Whereas the National Kids to Parks Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants. And whereas Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Georgia Lord, Mayor of Goodyear, Arizona, do hereby proclaim to participate in the National Kids to Parks Day. I urge residents of Goodyear to make time, please make time on May 18th, 2013 to take the children in their lives to a neighborhood. This is wrong again. Take the children to neighborhoods and state and national parks, given under my hand in these free United States in the city of Goodyear on 13th day, May 2013, to which I have caused the seal of the city of Goodyear to be affixed and have made this proclamation public. And really, it's always a shame when the economy turns because people are not using the resources, and many of the resources the state closed. So now they're open, and so I think this is great that we are encouraging our families, the children, the schools to use the parks. Don't we all love to hear the giggling and the running and all the noise you hear in the parks, and we welcome them. So thank you very much for coming up this evening.
You're welcome.
The next time I have a big word like that, staff better phonetically put it in here because this was a real challenge, okay? Thank you. Okay. On the 4th is Mario. You're up for this one. Okay, we'll introduce Matthew Garlick, who will give an overview of the Liberty Utilities rate case that is planned for 2014. Nice to see you again.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'd like to introduce Greg Sorensen, who's actually going to be stepping in for Matthew Garlick. Greg is the Vice President of Liberty Utilities, and he's here tonight to talk a little bit about the Liberty rate case that's planned for 2014. In addition, he'll touch on the public outreach opportunities that will be available.
We're so glad to see you here. I know we had a conversation before about you coming before us and furnishing this information. We really appreciate it.
Well, Mayor, Council, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to come here and speak to you this evening. I will try and keep it brief, and then obviously if there are any questions, I'm sure I'll try and answer any that you may have. As Mario said, Liberty Utilities has filed a rate case application with the Arizona Corporation Commission at the end of February, and that application was approved on March 28th. In the past, we've heard from our customers that while they don't like any utility rate increases, and as a utility customer, I can certainly appreciate that, they did tell us that when you have to have rate increases, they prefer them to be smaller, more frequent rate increases as opposed to waiting a long time and then having a large rate increase all at once. It allows them to better budget for it. And so with that in mind, the application that we have filed asks for or requests approximately a $5 per month increase in the water bill and approximately $3 per month increase on the wastewater bill. These amounts on average are about a 14% increase and approximate inflation over the same time period. We're currently operating on 2008 cost structure. And since that time, inflation's been about 11%, and our rate increase is requested at about 14%. We expect the increase after the process at the ACC to probably go into effect somewhere around April of 2014, so about 10 to 11 months from today. It is a long process. It is a thoroughly investigative process by the Corporation Commission and their staff, where they employ expert engineers, accountants, and attorneys to look at everything that we have said in our application, look at all of our books and records, and make sure that what we have said has actually occurred. That's one aspect from a public utility company that is a little bit different perhaps from municipalities, where we have to go out and incur the costs and make the investments, and then afterwards seek reimbursement or return on those investments. So it just adds a little bit of different wrinkle, but also provides us with the opportunity to prove exactly what we've done to the Corporation Commission. Some of the things that have driven the request for the rate increase are increases in operating expenses. We make every effort to control our operating expenses as much as possible, but sometimes there are things beyond our control that can increase. For example, in our cost structure that's been authorized, we have $400,000 approved for property taxes, and in our most recent calendar year, we had $1.1 million of property tax expense. So items like that do creep up on us and do necessitate the need for us to come in for rates. Additionally, we have investment that's been made since our last last test year and last rate case. For example, we had to rehabilitate the roof and some structural elements of a 47-year-old water reservoir in our system. That cost about $1 million to do. Additionally, we expanded our wastewater treatment plant here in the city of Goodyear to enable us to handle growth that is starting to pick up within our service territory, as well as planned anticipation of the mall coming on board in 2015 and 2016. We will be reaching out to the community to allow them an opportunity to provide us with feedback, with concerns, with constructive criticism on any aspect, whether it be on rates or on service that we provide, or how we can better do things for our customers. We'll be contacting, and have already started contacting homeowner associations within the city of Goodyear to set up times where our personnel will come out and present, and then obviously have a significant question and answer period for any of the members of the HOA. We'll be placing that schedule as we get them scheduled on our website. libertyutilities.com, and if you just go to Goodyear as your service area, it'll provide links to all of the rate application, FAQ type of document. It will also provide pictures of some of the investments that we have made in the community, as well as investments in assets. And we'll list off any of the meetings that we're going to be having out in the public so that those who wish to can attend. It will also have a copy of the press release that we brought copies of and given to your staff today, and those are available for any members of the media as well if they are so interested. And at this point, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come here and speak and open up for any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Questions? Councilman Campbell?
Thank you. I have two questions. You mentioned that the rate increase that you are asking for is $5. Is that $5 even, and then $3 on wastewater?
It is an approximate. It is an approximate on the average bill. So if on water it was $5 on average. So if somebody's using, I think our average within our system is 8,800 roughly gallons in a month. If somebody using 8,800 gallons, and if the rate application is approved as filed, it would be approximately $5. It may be $4.89 or something like that. But for sake of convenience, I said $5. Same thing on wastewater. It's a fixed charge for the average residential consumer. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't vary with water usage. It's just a flat fixed fee, and that is, I believe, it's just under $3 per month increase requested.
So if you use less than the 8,000 gallons a month, your increase would be a little lower.
Yes, it would.
Okay.
And those obviously who use more, there would be an additional burden put upon them.
Sure. I understand that. Okay, thank you. I would like to ask staff to be sure that we get the dates of the outreach where they're going to be talking to the residents, please. See that we get it whenever it's set. Thank you.
And of course, it'll probably be in the newspaper also, right? Are you doing anything like that? Any reach? Besides that, no, I'm not eliminating what you're saying, Wally, Councilman Campbell.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Is he going to post it in the newspaper?
I just asked that question, so I don't know.
I'm sorry. We hadn't considered posting in the newspaper. We had typically, particularly with homeowner associations, the HOAs usually will advertise to their members, but then we were additionally going to put it on our website so that it's out there in the public and not just the HOA is knowing of the meeting.
Great.
If you believe strongly that it should be in the newspaper as well, I think that's something that we can consider, certainly.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you for coming and speaking with us this evening, and I appreciate the fact that you'll go out and give presentations to the HOAs. Communication is everything, and they are your customers, and customer service is key. I would strongly still ask, I know I've asked this in the past, but some of your customers are our large businesses, and I think that it would be helpful if you would go and speak to those large water users that are our large businesses in Goodyear. I'd appreciate that.
Yes, and that was actually my mistake in trying to go off the top of my head. I had it on my notes to include here on the page to include our large water users, particularly the commercial customers that would be impacted by the rate increase. So advice, and we will be following that.
Thank you.
Councilman Pizzillo?
First of all, I appreciate you coming and meeting with us before this meeting and going over this. I appreciate you taking the time and and laid all that out, so we had an advance warning of what you're about to do on your rate increase. But second, as far as your bills as they go out, are you going to be doing any insert flyers inside that, meeting times, that type of thing for your rates?
With regard to bill inserts, there are certain communications that are required of us when we have a rate filing. The required communication, it's set out by the Corporation Commission staff and the administrative law judge. It says, here's what you shall communicate. Obviously, we can communicate more in addition, but there will be a mailer that goes out to all of our customers in June, notifying of the rate increase, as well as some dates outlined in there, hearing dates, et cetera, and opportunities for them to comment. So that required communication will go out, but that won't be the only communication that we have with our customers.
And will that have meeting places and times as well?
It will, as far as those from the ACC standpoint. It would not list off any of the HOA meetings that we would be having, which is why we'd want to be putting things on our website and trying to communicate with our customers directly around those, because those aren't official ACC meetings. Those are the utility trying to speak with our customers.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, Mayor, I'm sorry. I just have one more comment. I am in an HOA that does not send out a newsletter. Sometimes we learn word of mouth. They only meet every 3 months, so we don't get really all the information. But if you were to post it in the West Valley View, at least the majority of the people would have some notice. I'm just concerned. I've never gone on your website, and I'm one of your customers. I have no reason to go to your website. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I don't know how many people would go there to look about the rate increase. And I just want to be sure that we're doing everything we can to let everyone know that is a Liberty Water customer, that you have petitioned to raise their rates, and they have an opportunity to respond.
I absolutely agree.
I'm sorry, but I'm just real worried about getting communication out and being transparent on it.
No, and I absolutely agree that communication and transparency is key to this whole process. And so when we contact with the HOAs, we do talk to them about, okay, well, what's the best way to get the word out to your membership? And some may do things via email, some may do it via postings in common areas within. They may have email blasts that they send out. However it is to best work with the HOA, we will do that. And I will go back and speak with my staff as well about putting things in the newspaper. And this is a question I'll have to answer with the HOAs, is if we're going to meet with a particular HOA, do they have closed meetings where only their members, or whether it is open to the general public as well as their membership? But we'll try and get as large a population into our meetings as possible.
And again, you've seen the warm response you got from this council, and thank you for your, your collaboration on this, because we are one city, but we have two water companies, so we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, now is the time for a citizen who would like to address the city council on any non-agenda item. Do we have? No, Mayor. All right. Well, then let's go right to the consent agenda. If the city clerk would please read the consent agenda, items 6.1 to 6.5 by title only.
Item 6.1, approve amended Youth Commission bylaws. Item 6.2, adopt Resolution 13-1551, approving an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the Maricopa County Library District and authorizing the city manager or designee to execute any and all documents necessary to carry out the intent of the IGA. Item 6.3, adopt Resolution 13-1552, authorizing the release and relinquishment of a certain temporary drainage easement for Willis Road located approximately 755 feet east of the east right-of-way line for Rainbow Valley Road and accepting the dedication of a replacement temporary drainage easement for Willis Road. Item 6.4, approve a request for a preliminary plat for Estrella Parcel 7.5, subdividing 17.93 acres into 71 single-family lots and 11 tracts located at the southwest corner of Estrella Parkway and Calistoga Drive within the Estrella Mountain Ranch Villages 7 and 9 planned area development, subject to stipulations. Item 6.5, approve a request for a preliminary plat for Estrella Parcel 9.1, subdividing 22.91 acres into 92 single-family lots and 11 tracts located approximately 800 feet north of the northwest corner of Estrella Parkway and Willis Road within the Montecito Phase 3 planned area, development subject to stipulations.
Thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Does anyone from the council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Councilman Stipp?
I have a question. Well, can I ask you your,
Oh, sure. But I don't know that I have it out for you.
I got to give you a number.
Oh, is it the Estrella map?
It's the last one that you just read, the 9.1.
For 6.5?
Is that the Estrella Parcel 9.1? That's the one I have a question on.
Okay. So could staff come forth, please?
Sorry, Steve.
Mayor, council members.
Good evening. The question relates to what we talked about during the work session. This is the item that, and forgive me while I'm flipping through this electronically. This is about fire station placement. This one has, this is the subdivision will be served by Fire Station 182, located approximately 3 miles north of the property. I know we're getting pretty close, and at some point in time, we had a fire station approved, and at least some site work up in the Willis Rainbow Valley area. We're pushing the outer limits with 3 miles. This relates to the documents that we received in the fire department study. Is there a trigger for that fire station? Is that fire station dead? Is it no longer? Can I just get a little background on that? The first one's 2.5. I'm good. You know, that's the first part, the first track. This one pushes it another half a mile farther away.
Council members, mayor, council members, there is, and other staff may explain this better than I do, there is an agreement or some kind of set agreement with Newland where Ray Road is kind of a line, and they're allowed so many homes south of that. And when they trigger, I think it's 500, I can be corrected, staff can correct me. Once they trigger that, then that triggers that station down there at Willis. These are from the station up there, 182, so these did not fall under that agreement and did not trigger the next fire station down there.
Okay, so that Ray Road is the trigger point, and it's south of there, so that's still active, everything's still moving forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That'll answer that question. Thank you very much.
No more questions? Anybody?
Nope.
All right, thank you. So now let's have a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion by Councilman Stipp and a second by Councilman Campbell. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Osborne,
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano,
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell,
Aye.
Councilmember Barber,
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp,
Aye.
Mayor Lord,
Aye.
passes 7-0.
Great, let's go to the business, and let's start out with the contract with, we're now going to consider authorizing the city manager to approve a lump sum for a contract for professional engineering services with Red Oak Consulting.
Good evening, Mayor Lord and council members. The engineering department, along with environmental services, is pleased to bring this action before you this evening. Our motion is to authorize the city manager to approve the lump sum contract, as you mentioned. The execution of this contract will allow the city to proceed with continued development of the City of Goodyear SCADA system. And I thought it might be helpful just very briefly to go through and provide a little background. So, of course, before Phase 2, there's Phase 1. And this effort was about 4 or 5 years ago, as I understand, it's a little before my time. And the goal of that project was to update the treatment, instrumentation, and control at several facilities. The project got through about 50% of the existing facilities, and those now have relatively new SCADA equipment with reasonable service life that we can use as part of Phase 2. As part of the project, the main goal was for data acquisition. And since SCADA stands for supervisory control and data acquisition, we still have a fair amount of work to do to get the supervisory control part of that system in place. This allowed many, but not all, of the water and wastewater facilities to send data back to the SCADA Control Center at 157th Avenue Water Reclamation Facility. So with that, I'd like to go through the effort that we'll be doing as part of the SCADA Phase 2. As I mentioned, we'll be building upon SCADA Phase 1, adding to the data acquisition that was started as part of Phase 1. Implement and expand the supervisory control throughout the city at the existing water and wastewater facilities. The SCADA 2 system, we want to make sure that it's secure from the cyber threats, allow remote facility access. And what that'll do is increase our operational functionality. We'd like to continue to improve the SCADA system support operations and improve agency compliance reporting. This will allow for management efficiency, will allow remote monitoring. This will allow us to reset alarms and instrumentation without making trips out to the site. And this, of course, will reduce operation response to false alarm notifications, travel time, fuel consumption, and labor costs. We basically, when we scoped out the project, we set it up into two benefit classes, if you will. One is a short-term benefit. So what we're looking to do within 4 months is improve the existing system. And what we need to do is work at the 157th Avenue Water Reclamation Facility SCADA control room. We'll be working with the software, realigning some control screens, and working with the alarms. System-wide, we have a SCADA network design. We're looking to make the communications more efficient. Along with the SCADA hardware and the software, we need to realign some of the licenses. We need to reconcile ones that are no longer being supported with ones that we may have multiple versions of the same thing. Part of this effort, of course, is going to allow us to have, again, agency compliance reporting data in a more real-time and efficient manner. We'll be looking to implement the secure network. This will allow for operational data improvements, and of course we're going to be including staff training for that. The future longer-term benefits of this project will be phasing a plan for the SCADA system from the present to the ultimate build-out of existing and future facilities. The facilities that have been targeted are 157th Avenue Water Reclamation Facility, the Bullard Water Campus, Corgate Water Reclamation Facility, the Rainbow Water Reclamation Facility, as well as Water Treatment Site 18 and Site 21. This will allow us to improve monitoring data collections at each of these individual sites. And all these sites will be allowed to be controlled from a master SCADA location, which will stay at 157th Avenue Water Reclamation Facility, where it now exists. I thought it might be helpful to sort of put it in some sort of context.
Yes.
We're talking really a citywide implementation of the SCADA system. As you can see in red, just on the north of the Gila River, is where the 157th Avenue facility is located, and that's where the existing SCADA master control room is. The green is several facilities, water and wastewater both, that we now take signals from or not, and we shoot them back through the ballpark, actually, on an antenna back to the SCADA master. And the yellow or gold, there's 4 of them there that are outlined. The water treatment at Site 21 and 18, Bullard Water Campus, the Corgate Water Facility, and the Rainbow Facility. And that just kind of gives you an idea of how much area we're trying to cover and how much information we're trying to get back and forth into 157th Avenue facility. This is just another way of presenting sort of the layout of the system. As you can see on the left, that's the 157th Avenue master control. The middle column, if you will, is the ballpark, which basically is the main transmitter that collects the signals, which are on the right-hand side from all the different facilities, and transmits them into the 157th Avenue facility. As you can see, some of the items on the right, that's an incomplete system. This is basically what was left off of from the Phase 1 project, which is why we're now moving on to Phase 2 to add those extra facilities there. The all-important project funding in the budget. The Phase 2 Development Services project was approved in fiscal year 2012-13 in the CIP. The approved CIP budget for the design, implementation, and equipment purchases for this project, $751,816. To date, no money has been spent for this effort. The contract for Red Oak Consulting for their work would be $647,750. As I mentioned previously, there's some equipment requirements for this project. We've set aside $104,000 for that. And with that, our recommendation, we'd like to authorize the city manager to approve the contract for professional engineering services with Red Oak for the SCADA Phase 2, which allows us to authorize a purchase order for Red Oak Consulting contract in the amount of $647,750. And with that, I'd be happy to attempt to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
All right. Then I'd like to have a motion. A second, please.
So moved.
Second.
All right. I think I heard a motion from Councilman Pizzillo and a second from Councilman Loretano. Open for council discussion. Now you may have some questions in a moment. Councilman Pizzillo.
Will this complete the SCADA system as of now with the sites and all that are up and running? The second?
Yes, this will add in the systems that we have to date. More importantly, we're also setting up standards so that future facilities will also follow the same protocol and design, which will allow us to streamline getting those systems online.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councilman Campo?
Is this contract for, with Red Oak, the actual work, or are they just going to give their opinion of what needs to be done? Are we actually paying for the work to be done?
Yes, they'll be programming. They'll also be setting up standards for projects that we need to provide, whether it be a developer or other CIP work. So it's more than just written reports. They'll be doing staff training. They'll be upgrading computers along with our IT department hand in hand. We're going to be coordinating with them.
Do we get any equipment from them or anything? It's just mainly their expertise that we're paying for?
Correct. We'll be procuring and providing the equipment necessary for that.
Okay, thanks. How about that?
No other questions? Well, with that, let's vote on it, okay? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. So let's go on to the next item. 7.2, we'll now consider authorizing the city manager to approve Amendment 1, GMP 2, to the CM at Risk construction contract for the Goodyear Operations Center Phase 1, Phase 2 projects. Regis Reed to present. Regis?
Mayor, members of council, again, privileged to be before you this evening and continue our efforts from March 18th. First, let's express a little agenda here. We're going to give you some project background. We're going to provide you with some staff follow-up from our March 18th council meeting. Going to give you an update on the fleet and equipment facility, provide you with a project budget summary, and of course a recommendation to council for action on our GMP contract. On January 4th, 2013, City Council reviewed a briefing of the fleet and equipment facility to be constructed as part of the Goodyear Operations Center. On March 18th, we brought to Council the GMP contracts 1 and 2 for approval for the construction of the Phase 1 and 2 911 facility and Public Works facility. Council approved GMP 1 for the 911 facility, however, asked us to bring back some additional information for GMP 2, which was for Phase 1 and 2 of the Public Works facility, wash and fuel station. If I could, before I proceed, give you a brief update on, not really part of tonight's presentation, but on the construction of the 911 facility. I thought I'd take this opportunity to let you know the construction has begun, moving on right on schedule and very, very well. We have all the mass excavation done, the pad is built, all of the underground plumbing, electrical is inside the building, all of the water and fire lines are ran to the building, and we have started foundations. We do anticipate the substantial completion for the project in January of 2014. As a result of the March 18th council meeting, we were asked to bring back several items to you for discussion. We're looking at project changes to the wash and fuel facility. This was to get the facility back into its original budget and not impact the existing Public Works funding for the fleet facility. We were asked to identify a traffic study and make some traffic recommendations on the current Romley Road intersection, where it would be intersecting Estrella Parkway. We were asked to discuss the impacts that the I-10 reliever, or SR-30, would have on this project, and also discuss the 159th Avenue options and vehicle counts for the project. As a result of responding to your first request and getting the original Phase 1 and 2 back into budget, we revisited the project, which was actually approved for fiscal years in the CIP, fiscal years 10, 11, and 12 and 13 for these two projects, Phase 1 and 2. Staff worked and reviewed the needs for the facilities, and we did determine that the fuel facility is a needed component at this time. However, the wash facility, as it was designed, is not something that was actually needed at this time. Staff worked diligently with the design group and our contractor to come up with alternatives, and it was decided that basically eliminating the entire wash building while leaving all of the infrastructure to the building in place. We would also leave the high-pressure wash pad in place, and that would be accommodating the large vehicles, which is something we desperately need. We would still maintain the washing of the smaller vehicles, day-to-day fleet vehicles, cars, SUVs, things under the contracts we have with current city car washes at this time. In reducing this facility, we've actually saved the project approximately $800,000, $797,843 to be exact. This still leaves important parts of the components of the high pressure wash, and it allows us to complete the wash building in the future with minimal costs and ease to the existing site, just actually the cost of building the project. The savings of doing this allowed us to fully build out the needed fuel facility and allowed us the funds we need to complete the Romley Road, which is going to be our front door to the complex, and allow for the Roscoe Dog Park and BMX track, and of course all the future facilities here in this Goodyear Center. Probably the most important thing is it does not touch any of the existing public work impact fees that we've identified to go to the fleet facility. Some of the major components that we have not touched is we still have the full streets and public works laydown yard, which will consist of both paved and millings for storage vehicle, materials storage, and just basic staging of the vehicles. If you look, that's the peach colored, I believe it is. I'm not real good with colors. Highlighted long linear east to west. Again, the orientation is north. That's the Public Works laydown yard. And if you look at the northwest corner of that, there's a small little line cut out just by a line. That would be a temporary location for the police impound vehicles, which provides them with a much needed, more secure location temporarily until we can get a permanent location for them. And once they vacate that, that will then be resort back to the Public Works for a little higher security storage areas for product. The fueling facility still maintained the 20,000 gallon diesel, 15,000 gallon ethanol, 15,000 gallon unleaded, which is needed to maintain the full deliveries of fuel so we can not have any other surcharges on that. The wash facility, as I said earlier, it'll accommodate the needed large vehicles. It gives us that high pressure wash wand to wash off the garbage trucks, the street sweepers, the things we need that we really can't run through a car wash. They currently do contract that out, but this will make that much easier for them. It will also provide something for the future fleet facility as they bring vehicles in and occasionally, if not often, need to clean those vehicles off before they service them. One of the things that was talked about was the location of the train depot, and this is a good slide to maybe talk to you a little bit about that. The train depot was identified in the 2011 master plan for this. Though it's not shown on the drawing here or on the display, if you look and can identify where the Roscoe Dog Park currently is, on the south side of it between Romley and the existing Rozier access. The train depot will be run right along Estrella Parkway and will have access right off of the Romley Road that we're proposing putting in. Although that's the location that's identified in the master plan, the Parks and Recreation is creating a master plan for parks, and that will be looked at again to confirm that it's the appropriate location, or they may move it if they wish to do so. Give you a little briefing on the fleet and facility. We have retained Arrington Watkins for the design, and this demonstrates a conceptual site plan for us on what that may look like. On the top of the screen there, that area is the fleet and facility for fleet and equipment maintenance, which is just adjacent or just north of the wash and fuel facility. It'll tie on to all the existing infrastructure we've put in, thus keeping the costs of this project at a minimum. Is designed to be 8 bays at this time with future growth. Currently they have 6 bays, 3 of which are inside and 3 are outside. It's designed to last us about 15 years into the future, and design is going to be as such to allow for a very easy expansion to the facility without interrupting any ongoing work at the time with the facility. We have an engineer's estimate of this project to include construction, design, and FF&E of $2.79 million. That's within our $2.8 million that we have currently left for impact fees. If everything stays on track, we will be back to you in August for a construction contract, and we'll be breaking ground on it in that same month. Slated to be complete in April 2014. Budget summary here, just to bring us up to speed on where we are with money. FY 10-11, we had $1.784 million budgeted for phase 1, which is the infrastructure and the public works laydown yard. And FY 11-12, $1.25 million budgeted for phase 2, which was the wash and fuel facility. For a total budget, of course, of $3.034 million. Design to date, we've got a contract and finishing it up at $533,000. This GMP contract before you this evening is for $2,401,000. It relieves us a remaining budget of $100,000 for owner's contingency. As you can see, this falls well within the remaining budget we have for the fleet facility. At this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to David Ramirez, who will discuss traffic and engineering aspects of the project. Are there any questions of the presentation thus far? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I will address, well, let me get it on the next slide here. I'll address the Romley Road access to the site and the recommended traffic improvements, especially in light of some of the concerns that were brought up previously. So this slide here shows the location of Romley Road, which is a new street, which would replace Rozier Road as the primary access into the property. Romley Road will serve as the main point of access to the Roscoe Dog Park, the BMX track, the existing Public Works Administration Building, as well as the Goodyear Operations Center Phase 1 and Phase 2 improvements. It creates a more efficient and safer access into the facilities, basically serving as the front door into the Goodyear Operations Center. Through the improvements that we're proposing, which I'll describe in just a minute, we feel this is a very appropriate entrance into the facility. We're providing additional pavement into the on Estrella Parkway, which will accommodate turn lanes, which I'll show you in a subsequent slide. It'll create a new southbound right turn lane into Romley, as well as a new left turn lane off Estrella Parkway into the facility. Currently, there are approximately 49 large vehicles and equipment consisting of fire trucks, dump trucks, refuse trucks or sweepers, and trailers that would transport some of the bigger equipment, such as backhoes, that would use Romley Road to access the site. We feel that the improvements, I'll show you in just a few slides, will accommodate these turning movements as well. Just as a point of reference, the cost of the Romley Road improvements are estimated at about $217,000, and they're included in the budget for the project. So to address some of the concerns that were brought up previously, we performed a traffic signal warrant study. We used the data that was provided by the consultant in terms of the traffic generation as a result of the existing uses on the property, as well as what would be brought on with the Phase 1 and 2 improvements. We took traffic counts on Estrella Parkway ourselves, and also on Rozier Road, and we superimposed the two and then used that data to perform the traffic warrant study. So we used the vehicle counts. We also looked at crash data, and we incorporated the consultant data that was supplied. In terms of the traffic warrant study itself, the regulation identifies 9 warrants that could potentially support a new traffic signal. 4 of the 9 warrants actually apply to this condition. The 4 are the through and turning movements in a peak 8-hour period, and then a 4-hour period, a 1-hour period, as well as accounting for crashes in the last 12 months. So those were the 4 warrants that we evaluated. And in this evaluation, we determined that none of the traffic signal warrants were met at this time. Relatively low volume of large vehicles will access the site. So I guess for now, the appropriate traffic control measure would be a stop sign or a stop control in the eastbound direction where Romley Road would intersect Estrella Parkway. But having said that, we will, once the improvements are in place, we will monitor the traffic volume very closely, at least annually or at least every 2 years. So depending on increase in the base traffic on Estrella Parkway, we will continue to evaluate this to see at what point a traffic signal is warranted. So in summary, the recommended improvements are the northbound left lane from Estrella Parkway at Romley Road, a southbound right turn lane from Estrella Parkway into Romley Road, and then also some improvements to the existing southbound right turn lane at Rozier Road. The intention is to, once Romley Road is in place, would have that be the primary access, not only for city employees, but also for the public to access the dog park and the BMX park. So that Rozier would become a designated, not for public access, but more for some very few operations that are needed for the treatment plant, such as bringing in certain chemicals that they use and hauling away sludge. There'd be very limited use proposed for Rozier once Romley Road is in place. This slide here actually is a construction drawing that shows the signage and striping that would be employed for the new Romley Road, Estrella Parkway intersection. The shading designates the turn lanes. So the two areas that are shaded in yellow, those are the right turn lanes. The one on the right is right turn lane into Romley Road, and the one on the left, it would be the improved right turn lane into Rozier Road. And then I think that's orange, but in the middle, that's the left turn lane from northbound Estrella Parkway into Romley Road. We're providing all the appropriate storage as well as transition lengths on the pavement for the turn lanes, the signage, and also some additional pavement width on Estrella Parkway for these improvements. Another item that was brought up at the meeting was, I guess, the proximity of Romley Road to the future I-10 Reliever Freeway, or SR30. So that's what's shown in orange. And the distance from Romley Road to the eastbound off-ramp, which would be on the south side of the freeway, is 700 feet and almost 1,000 feet from Romley Road to the center of the freeway. We submitted, let me go back. We did submit our master plans to ADOT for them to look at what we were proposing on the site, as well as the location of Romley Road in association with the freeway improvements. So we got a letter back from ADOT stating that they had reviewed our master plan, and that they were confident that the SR30 alignment could be adjusted by ADOT if needed, with no adjustment required from the city.
It's nice to hear. That's good news.
There was another idea that was brought up or mentioned at the last meeting, and that was providing access to the site from MC85. So we looked at what that would entail. So over MC85 is the blue line on the north, or on the top part of the drawing there. And over on the left, you see a road, I think it's marked 159th Avenue. That would run south from MC85 to a point where it would turn and run east over to the admin building, and then connect with the improvements that are being proposed. We're not recommending this road at this time for a couple of reasons. Number one, the cost. The cost would vary somewhere between $550,000 and $700,000, depending if it's a compacted millings road or an actual asphalt paved road. And with this road in place, we feel we would still need the access to Romley Road anyway in order to make the site function. So it would be our recommendation that this road not be constructed this time, but in the future with future development of the property, and utilize Romley Road as the primary access into the facility. And with that, that's my presentation. Any questions for
Thank you, David. I'm sure
myself or
there'll be
Regis?
some questions. So, are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Would at this time, is there anybody in the audience that didn't fill out a speaker card? Okay, no? All right, let's have a motion, a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion by Councilman Campbell and a second by Councilman Stipp. All right, open for discussion, council. Who wants to go first? Sherry.
Well, David, thank you for listening to some of our comments and especially concerns for the people that live up there. I guess I understand we need the facility. I don't have a problem at all with the facility. I don't like the alternatives that are still provided. It's basically just been moved a few hundred yards up the street, and it's the same situation. The issue isn't just necessarily the traffic count. I think the issue is we just spent an hour during our work session. We were talking about the El Rio project, making that a beautiful area, and we're going to add a train park, and we have a dog park and a BMX track where there's children, and we're going to run heavy machinery up that same road. That's where my concern is. I don't have concern on traffic counts and numbers and statistics. It's a lot of aesthetics. Sometimes because we're a little more rural up in Estrella, I don't think we would run those trucks in front of Pebble Creek or Palm Valley. Honestly, I think you'd hear an outcry because it's a little more rural. The gateway to get up there, it's still our gateway. We talk about the medians. Our median, we have a Goodyear sign and it's dirt. I just don't see having a beautiful train park and everything and running dump trucks and front loaders up that way. The cars, I don't mind. The cars, do the improvements, use the cars, but I think you need to run the trucks another way, and I'm not going to support it because we don't need the facility. I know we need it 100%. I just can't support it saying we're going to let those trucks run up that area, for the next 15 years. So, but thank you very much for listening to our concerns. I appreciate it.
Vice Mayor Osborne.
Well, I appreciate Sherry's comments. I guess the question that I would have pertaining to some of the presentation is, at this time we cannot afford the alternate route to take those trucks a different route, from what I'm understanding, but that it's not completely out of the question that in the future, maybe it's 5 years from now, that we say, the train park is done, because it's not done yet. I mean, there's things futuristic-wise. So if policy was to say, we understand presently this is what we need to do, but this is not, as a council, where we want these trucks to be completely staying. I mean, in the future, we would like that road, 159th or whatever it was, completed in the future. Maybe that's part of the point, is that currently this is what we need to take care of, but it's, to your statement, that's just not where we want to see these trucks forever going on.
Mayor Lord, I think Regis would like to add some information.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Osborne, that is absolutely correct. The master plan does identify for all the back-of-house heavy equipment vehicles to come off the 159th Avenue. We've worked diligently with ADOT to make sure we have full access and an overpass in SR 30 or the I-10 reliever at that location. Because that is the overall design. And as you identified, unfortunately at this time, funding just is prohibitive to have it there. As we continue future development, that'll be something high on the priority list, is to create that. One of the first things I would think with the next project is to create that access off of MC 85. We have worked with Maricopa County, Department of Transportation, in locating that, because of course that is their roadway, and we've actually got some designs identified for that. When we moved the 911 facility, again, it wasn't a full connection to the Public Works facility, but it did connect the 911 because that made sense to connect that. That all got pulled off the table, of course, because of funding.
So what excuse me, Mayor, time frame in the future, are we talking 15 years, or are we talking, I mean, it's not in the next 5-year CIP that I recall.
Yeah, well,
where is it within the
to go on with Joanne's asking, so what is our program for the train station in the park? I mean, it's some time out. It's not anytime soon.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Osborne, correct. It's not anytime soon. There's actually a Centennial Committee that's been formed and still working to get organized to be able to collect, be identified as a nonprofit group and collect funding to relocate the train station. and put it in the area identified in our master plan. However, at the result of this year's Master Parks and Recreation plan, that location may change. It's not likely, but it may change. But it is nothing in the next 5-year plan that we have. We have no funding for it. So
I'm sorry, I was speaking of the road, the 159th, am I saying the right road?
Correct.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were talking about park or if you were talking
I'm
about.
talking about tying it in.
Right, right.
You know, the available ring, when we decide that we can do the train station and build the park and all of that, and maybe then that's the timeline in which to bring the 159th in. I can see our city manager likes to speak.
Mayor and members of the council, you're correct that it is not in the current proposed fully funded 5-year capital improvement plan. One of the things that we are going to be working with council in the fall is to actually come up with a prioritization of the capital improvement plan. So while you will be asked to look at a CIP and actually adopt that this year, the first year's a challenge to move funds around. Years 2 through 5, that's always subject to reprioritization. This council will have every opportunity to look at that. So if there was a focus on bringing funding to 159th Avenue sooner than as a high priority, then we just have to look at the funding mechanisms for that.
Councilman Stiff?
I think my questions are for Dave Ramirez. Although I do want to say while you're walking away, Regis, I do greatly appreciate the effort that you guys went into redesigning and going through it and bringing a much better product for us to look at. So I greatly appreciate that. Can we get the PowerPoint presentation back up? Go back to slide 12.
I'm not sure. I'll have to see which slide 12 is. Okay. Too far. It's all right.
Well, if you can you control it there? Go back one more. Go back one more, and we'll start with 11. My first question then.
Right,
Perfect.
right there?
Okay.
Okay.
We'll start here. I actually had a traffic light question. We did this warrant. We went through all this, and no traffic warrants were found. So the recommendation is don't put a light in there. We approved a traffic light coming out of the east side of the Safeway Center up in Estrella, just north of Elliott on Estrella Parkway. Walgreens. Yeah, right by the Walgreens. Thanks. Did that have a traffic study done, or did we just did that, if I remember?
Mayor Lord, Councilmember Stipp, we did have a traffic study that addressed that signal. And it was supported by the traffic study.
Okay, great. That answers that question. Then next slide. Last question is, and it's a two-parter. Number one is, during the presentation, we talked about making Romley Road the primary access in and out of there.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. And then, but we're talking about putting dollars into improving at least access to Rozier Road, and I understand that there's a need for that. So have I tracked that so far?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a value in making the public works access from Rozier and not Romley, so we don't have the conflicting traffic that the other council members were talking about, that people going to the dog park and going to the BMX are using Romley, where the public works folks can be using Rozier? I mean, was that looked at as a possibility to shift some of that traffic around?
Mayor Lord, Councilmember Stipp, I'm sure it was. I think I'd like Regis to address that one.
Oh, okay.
Because he's very familiar with the plan.
Put that map back on, shows the two roads.
Mayor Lord, Councilmember Stipp, that actually was considered, but however, what we run into is we have a Buckeye Irrigation Canal Bridge just immediately south of Rozier. There's not enough room there to expand the roadway to accommodate a left turn lane into that center. It's one of the reasons we haven't done it thus far. We can easily accommodate the right turn in, but we can't do anything about the road or the bridge right directly south of that. And that's what's impacting and really driving our design right now at this time.
Got it. Okay. So, and the road that we're creating in Romley, if I said that right, there's no value in moving that to the north end of the property, shifting it away from the dog park, but putting it to the north end because that makes it too far away now. Is that correct?
And once again, Mayor Lord, Councilmember Stepp, we actually even looked at that, but what happens then, we start getting in conflicting intersection with the freeway. This is about as close. We go a little closer, but not enough. And this also corresponds with the property to the east of us to make a true good four-way intersection when it is fully all built out.
Perfect. Thanks for the hard work.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion on the table, so it's time to vote. Do we want to do a roll call vote here? I think in this case, let's do a roll call vote, all right?
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
No.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Barber?
Nay.
Councilmember Stipp?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Osborne?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Passes 5-2.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll go to some information items, and then we're going to be adjourning this one. We're going to go back to the work session. We've decided to keep it up here, all right, so that we can all, I know it won't be as comfortable. We're not going to be around it. But we're going to do a break, so let's get some of this other out of the way here. So let's sum it up right now. Does council have any comments about your activities, things that have gone on this last week?
Just one.
We'll start down here at this end on Councilman Barber this time.
So this past Friday, we had an attempted abduction in the Estrella community at West Star Elementary School. And it was in Estrella, yeah, it was West Star. And I have to tell you, being a parent, that was quite the event for us up there. And the way I found out about it was my daughter forgot her homework, and I ran up to her school, which was the other school in Estrella, and the school is locked down. I couldn't get to my kid. I couldn't get any information. And it was really kind of an interesting situation. Thank you to staff for helping me find out what was going on. But I'm really proud of the work that the Goodyear Police Department did in that area, getting both of those schools locked down and really getting to the source of what was happening, getting the information. I did get a request from a friend on Facebook saying, why isn't this on Twitter? You know, what else can we do to possibly get this information out quicker, especially when the sketch became available? Thank you to Romina for answering my questions on that. I think now that our city does have PIOs in place and we have the communication really up to par, it would be great to see, maybe even to go back, look at that situation and kind of figure out what else could we have done to get the information out a little bit quicker. But again, great job to PD. Thank you to staff for at least helping me find some answers as well, because I had people calling me. And I guess the biggest lesson out of all of it was, you know, hug your kids and talk to your kids. And that was one of the biggest things that came out of this, was just having those conversations with our kids about what do you do in these situations and how important our safety is. So thank you.
I'll do it quick. Councilman Campbell?
I'll do mine real quick.
You don't have to be quick about it. That's what we're here for. So
Last week, the subcommittee for boards and commissions met and reviewed the youth commission applications, and we'll be holding interviews soon. This Friday. Oh, gosh, it's already here. Sorry. I thought it was next week, but thank you. I also attended the West Valley Business Leadership Roundtable with Franklin Pierce University, and it was a wonderful opportunity for us to expand our partnership with this university. I also attended Expect More Arizona Excellent Tour Reception and saw schools that had been chosen as excellence, and had a wonderful presentation by some fourth graders. gosh, on Wednesday, the city of Goodyear hosted grandparents raising grandchildren. And for the first time, we were able to reach out to a constituency within our city to establish a support group to help these folks who thought that they were going to enjoy their retirement years, and they find that they are now raising children again. And they were so appreciative of our efforts, and we have established a support group the fourth Saturday of every month at Christ Evangelical Church at 915 Litchfield Road at 9 o'clock in the morning. So we're really happy and excited about that. I attended Jerry Postema's reception. The mayor and I did a tour of Dick's Sporting Goods. That's all the same day. And then I sit on the ITT Technical Institute advisory board, and our quarterly meeting was that evening, and I enjoyed doing that. Gosh, let's see.
But you're going to be brief.
Oh, no, I am brief. I'm hurrying. I attended the Area Agency on Aging Board of Directors, and we voted new contracts for care and home givers, as well as Meals on Wheels providers, and that's something I enjoy doing because I'm able to find out what facilities we actually have here in the West Valley and in Goodyear itself. And then, one more. I'm sorry. We went to have ice cream with the kids in the park on Friday while West Star, which was the winner, was in lockdown and couldn't come. The kids from the Odyssey Charter School were there, and they did not have school that day, so their parents brought the children. And then Officer Whittington found 2 or 3 kindergarten classes from our schools that were playing over by the splash pad that wasn't working. And we brought them all over, and they all had ice cream with us. So it ended up to be a really fun day. And is that all we did, Mayor? I think.
Got one more on Saturday, but I'll do it.
What did we do? You tell us about Saturday. I was with Bill and the mayor on Saturday, too. So that's it.
All right, Bill, you going to tell about that?
Sure. Yeah, it's the only thing I did while I was. We attended the for the Goodyear Police Department Fraternal Order of Police (FOP's) charity event, and I hate to call it an event because it really wasn't. It was really sponsored by the Sword of the Spirit Church. The FOP donated their time to work with the church to bag and distribute all of the things that the mail carriers were picking up. And it was really, it was great to see the young people. It was great to see that this new church in our community really, new and jumping in with both feet. And then our FOP to come in there and volunteer their time clearly says a lot about the employees that we have that are constantly giving of their free time through a number of charity events, the biggest one being that most everybody in the city participates in is the Fill a Need at the end of the year, and we've got these other ones throughout the course of the year, so that's pretty cool to see.
What was Officer Todd Whitney sent some more information over about that event, and there was 78,000 pounds of food during this one day of event donated.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that. Any?
Oh, I was just going to
Vice
add,
Mayor Osborne?
Yes, I did also attend the West Valley Business Leaders Roundtable, and I really appreciate Franklin Pierce, going out and searching and desiring the communication with our businesses and with people of the community, and asking the question, what is it that the West Valley needs for education and concerns? So I thought that was very appropriate. And another week, last week, surrounded by schools and education, and I'm always excited about how I'm hopeful for our future, and that's what we have to have. Is we have to have hope. And lastly, yes. Bill and Wally and I did sit down and look at all those applications, and for the next year, I'm going to put out a shout to the young men to fill out some applications. Thanks, Mayor.
And what application, what?
For the Youth Commission.
Oh, the Youth Commission, okay.
We got a lot of lovely ladies, and we didn't get very many gentlemen.
Well, I guess you have to work on that, huh? Well, I attended to just about everything that they talked about today, so I just want to mention that Franklin Pierce, it was a really unique time for us to come together, and that they really are starting to feel like they're a part of our city and vice versa. So, you know, when I made my talk, I said I'm feeling like they're our hometown university, because they were here when the downturn came, and they could have picked up their books and gone home like the other universities did, but they did not, and they stayed here. And even at the time that they were looking at other cities, kudos on staff that we worked so hard to keep their eyes, blinded so they wouldn't go on to another city, and that worked. So they're here now, and they're increasing, and we're working as a team, and it's just really a great relationship, and I really appreciate it. I did something interesting today. I visited the Grand Canyon campus because I've been seeing all the ads on the television. They've got a great PR program going. They have a campus that's 110 acres. So what's our city center? Yeah, it's 100 acres, right, plus the 40. And I wanted to see why they were so successful and why they're increasing rapidly and building. So it was an interesting tour. I think it's worthwhile for our staff to go out there and take a look at it. They have a great financial model. They're publicly traded. So that means that each new building they're paying for without a debt. It's not a bad idea. So I just throw that out to the city manager today just to look into that, to see that. I thought it was a great model. The other thing that is a little extraordinary from the others, I went back out to the base again at Luke Air Force Base and sat through a TAPS program again. And there was quite a number of GIs there that are looking to move into the civilian world. And it was pretty surprising to me that a number of them did not want to leave the area, that they're actually going to stay in the area and open small businesses. And so this particular seminar was, in fact, Paul Smiley gave the talk that day on how he started his business. So there's really quite a number of military that are going to be part of our business community in our cities in the West Valley, and they're talking about staying in the West Valley. So that was encouraging. So not only do we want to try to give the military that are getting out jobs, they're going to be producing jobs for us, and that was very encouraging. So that's about it. And now what we're going to do, do you have anything that you need to talk to us about since the general, not? Okay. Yeah.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
That's okay. I just had one question. It occurred to me after we had the earlier work session on the library, and I was wondering because the IGA goes through, I believe you said 2017 with Maricopa County. So once that IGA is complete, and we've certainly overcome the 50,000 population, are we looking, I don't know what that's going to mean to us financially as we go forward. And because I am assuming we have to take over that once that's complete. I guess I'm looking at, as we're looking in the future, what's that's going to cost us.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, what we can do is provisions of the current IGA, of course that was voted on, but what we'll do is provide you draft staff report, yellow paper, something as far as where it goes beyond here.
Beyond there.
Yes, because it is subject to negotiations. It's subject to other things that we need to bring up between now and then with the library district.
Okay. I just, I knew that it was beyond the population, so I wasn't sure where it went from there. Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is the plan. We're going to, we're going to adjourn this meeting, and I'm going to give you a break, okay? Because I know everybody said they want a little break. So when I adjourn the meeting, a 10-minute break, and then we're going to come back for a work session to finish the last item, which is, of course, on health care. And so we're going to stay up here. We're not moving down there. the council work session on Monday, May 13th. We had one item on the agenda that we have not covered. That's 3.5 is for council will receive a presentation and discussion of the health care program of the City of Goodyear and the alternatives to the fiscal 2013-14 health care plan. Lynette Reed to present.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and council members. I am here to go through some insurance proposals. I will begin with the current proposal, and I won't spend a lot of time on this particular proposal. We've talked quite a bit about it. It was the RFP selection committee selected Cigna as our provider, and the insurance committee had a chance to review the plan design and changes from there. There is the proposal for a Cigna HMO plan, which uses Cigna HMO primary care providers and also includes our clinic. As the second option is the high deductible $24,000, $48,000 plan with a health savings account. And included in this, and I want to kind of clarify, pediatricians and gynecologists in the Cigna HMO plan are direct. So you can go to them without a referral, but it is a Cigna HMO primary care physicians that are included in the Cigna HMO plan. Last week we had an opportunity to go back and do some more research on what doctors our employees do use, because that was something we heard as a concern. And outside of the clinic, the first and third most utilized doctors are actually in the Cigna HMO plan. So those are the first and third doctors. The second doctor is a PPO provider. So as I mentioned, I'm not going to spend much more time on this one. What I do want to visit a little bit about is the policy direction we heard last Monday night. We heard that moving forward, we want plans that there's a cost containment, both for employees and the city, that there's some flexibility in it, that there is choice for the employee, and that we are competitive. So that's what we heard from the council last Monday night. So in response to that, one of the cost containment suggestions that we received was to expand the hours of the wellness clinic if we were to go with the current proposal, or if we go with any of the other proposals tonight, look at extending the health and wellness clinic. To do so, we would recommend doing that this fall and extending it on the most utilized days, which are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. An increase in clinic hours for every hour is $7,500 per hour for the year. So that's the entire year for 1 hour to extend that. So if we were to look at incrementally extending this and beginning in the fall by about 3 hours per week, surveying it and making sure that we're meeting the needs of our employees, staying on top of that, we could gradually increase the number of hours without going to the full, open full time. If we were to do that, that was going to be a jump of about $120,000. So doing it incrementally, we believe we can absorb the increased costs right now for the first 3 hours that we add for the week. That is due to current budget, and as part of the negotiations with Cigna, they did give us an additional money towards wellness that we spoke about earlier, and we would use those towards expanding the hours of the clinic. So cost containment, the health and wellness clinic was part of that. So now I'm going to spend some time on the flexibility and the choice portion of it. Option number one that we're going to ask for your consideration tonight is to add back the $1,250 or $2,500 high deductible plan. That plan is currently in our plans with the HMO PPO combination, the $1,250, $2,500, and then we have the $2,448 high deductible plan. So as one option, we can add that back in. It does have a health savings account that's associated with it. It's a $300 for employee, $600 for employee spouse or employee children, and $900 for the family. This would increase the choice for the employee because it allows the employee and their dependents to go to their primary care family physician of their choice, as does a high $2,400, $4,800 deductible. Now, this does come with a cost to add it back in of approximately $30,000. As part of also the negotiations and research this week, we were able to get the provider to reduce by one more point. So we have reduced the cost of our health insurance by one more point, which is approximately $65,000. So we can use that money to cover this option, and we won't be adding any more money back in, into the budget or requesting any additional funds. This option also includes specialists, pediatricians, gynecologists, are all the same as what they are in our current PPO HMO offering.
Councilman Stipp has a question. I mean, Joe Bazil.
The 1250, 2500. Okay, I guess it was 1224, but 1250, 25. I'm sure there's a reason for that difference. But is that 1250 10%? Was it 10% copay up to the 25 to the 2500? I'm not quite sure I quite understand.
There's co-insurance after you get to, yes, there is co-insurance, and on this one it is $1,000 for the employee, $2,000 for the family. That's the co-insurance, the 10% above once you reach the deductible amount of $1,250 or $2,500. And the numbers change from $1,200 and $2,400 to $1,250 and $2,500 because there was a change in the law and with the laws, and we couldn't offer an HSA unless we had a $1,250 plan.
Well, okay, I still want to make sure I understand it. At 1250, 10%, and what's the cap? Another 1,000, which
Another
would make
$1,000 for employee, $2,000 for
employee.
family.
So that would be 2350, right?
That does go up to $2,250 and then $2,450.
Okay, so on the 2500, what's the 25? The 25, there is no co-insurance. There's a co-insurance.
There's a co-insurance up to $2,000.
Okay,
up
so
2,000.
Okay, so is the 1250 single and the 2500 married?
Family.
Family. Okay, I'm thinking they're okay. Never mind, because the one we had before, you had 1200, 10% up to the max of 2400, and the 2400 was everything. So this here is both individual and family.
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay. Then there's option 2, which we heard concerning the PPO. There is the option to add back in the PPO plan with a full employee buy-up. And that means this option would mean that the city does not incur any more cost as a result of adding the PPO, but there would be a full employee buy-up with this. The PPO mirrors many of the co-pays and deductibles that we have in the HMO plan. The PPO would again allow the employees the flexibility and the choice to choose their primary care physician, which includes the specialists, pediatricians, gynecologists, and all of the specialists are the same. So I'm going to come back to those two, but I'm going to kind of take you through kind of a little story here and kind of down a path here. But the percentage of increase by plan is listed here. For the HMO is 6.49 to add back in the 1224, which is what we have now. But if we went to the 1250, 2500, it's 10.95, 8.31 for the 2448, and 25% for the PPO. Now, if we did a blended rate, if we were looking at our current proposal, because a lot of times what we're asked is, well, how much is your health insurance going up? And you don't give it by all the plans. There's a blended rate. If we were to give a blended rate for the HMO and the high deductible 2448, our health cost increase is 6.61%. If we add in the 1250, 2500, it's 7.52%. But if you add in the PPO and take out the other deductible, 7.3%, and that's because of the blended rate. Current loss ratios are shown here. We have a high loss ratios in our high deductible plans, and that's something that we do see in your high deductible plans, because you either have those employees who are healthy, like I am, going into the 24/4800 plan and saving my HSA for catastrophic events, or you have individuals who have a lot of medical issues and needs. And prior to this, we did not have co-insurance on the 24/4800, so once you reached your deductible, then everything above that was paid for. We had it on the 2400. I'm going to get confused between the two numbers now that they've changed. We had that coinsurance, but we did not have it on the high deductible. So one of the recommendations is to add that coinsurance on the high deductible. That was initially recommended at $1,000, $2,000. We moved that back to $500 and $1,000. And so those percentages and loss ratios are seen here. So what does this mean in dollars and cents? If we were to look at the total plan cost for both employees and city combined, this is the premium cost on an annual basis combined. These are the dollar amounts for HMO, the 1250, the 2400, and the PPO, employee and city combined. And when I want to make something clear first, when we go through these and we're listing the 1250 and the PPO, ideally it is an option we would recommend if you choose to add one back, just add one. We don't go to a 4 option plan. That will spread our enrollment too thin and would cause a lot of problems. So if you do decide to give us direction to go and add one back in, whether it's the 1250 or the PPO, we again don't recommend adding all 4 of them. So those are the cost for employee and city. Then we have the 4% cost shift, which is in addition to the percentage increase in the plans that we just looked at, that 6.5 and that 10.8. There was the discussion of whether we do a 3, a 4, or a 5% cost shift, and it was the direction was a 4% cost shift. So if we do the 4% cost shift, this is the percentage increase before taxes by the different plans and employee plus child, employee plus spouse and family. The higher increases in the employee area, the 148, the 159, the 153, and the 674 are shocking high increases. But that is because we're moving from a 3%, with a 4% cost shift, you're moving from a 3% to a 7% contribution by the employees. In the other areas, the employee plus child and employee plus spouse, they were at 13%. So the percentage increase is much less with a 4% increase to 17%. And then you have the high deductible plan, which was already at 18%, and there was a recommendation to take that down to 17%. The goal is to make sure that all employees are paying the same percentage for their health care in premiums, trying to get everybody at that 17% level. Obviously, the employee only, we moved it up from 0 to 3% last year, and then moving up from 3 to 7%. That's quite a jump. So just trying to get the rest of them more in the 17% area. Well, what does a 148% increase in the HMO look like? That means today, right now, for an employee only, they pay $7.69 per check before taxes. With a 148% increase, it moves to $19.09 per check before taxes. So you can kind of go clear across the graph here and see what the impact is. We have the today's rates, and then we have what it means by that percentage increase. Again, as we go up the graph from the left to the right, we are only increasing from 13% to 17%, and then in the high deductible, it's actually a drop of 1% to get everybody to that 17%. If we look at this, oops, what happened? Okay, after tax, of that, the 28%, then we're looking at for the HMO employee only, it is a $13.74 per check instead of the $15 or $19.09. So after tax, those are the checks or the premiums per paycheck. So I kind of wanted to walk through this because I had to get my head wrapped around what does this mean if I got a 1250 $500 high deductible versus a PPO, and I know that premiums are one's higher than another. What if I just take the premiums off the table? I don't even think about the premiums. And what is the cost per, based on medical usage? What does it cost the employee just using the plan? So taking the premiums off the table and recognizing that there's going to be differences in premiums, what's the impact to the employee? And so we looked at a couple scenarios, one with an employee only and one with an employee of 4. This is a very typical scenario of what we will see. 5 maintenance medications per month for an entire year. So someone, either the employee or someone in the family, is on at least 5 maintenance medications per month. The maintenance medications run about an average of $120. If you were just to walk in, pay for it, it's about $120 average. 6 primary care visits. Each primary care visit averages $116 per visit. 6 specialist doctor visits average $150 per visit. Now that's one visit, I want to clarify. We're saying that they go to the primary care doctor 6 times in the year. They go to the specialist 6 times. If you're on 5 maintenance medications, it's likely that you're going to some type of specialist for blood pressure or heart or diabetes. So one visit to a specialist averages $150. And then let's say there's one outpatient procedure, which is about $1,200 average. So this is what we know that they would pay if they had no insurance on average. So if we break this down employee only, on the left-hand side is if the employee had the $1,250, the $2,500 with an HSA. This is an employee only. That first medicine that they would buy, they would get 10 months. They would purchase it for 10 months for just one of the 5 medicines. And that would already get them to $1,200. They've almost used up their $1,250 deductible right there with one medicine. So then the other 2 months of that medicine plus the other 4 meds are now at the co-insurance rate, which is 10%. So you look at that at $120, 10% of that's $12. Multiply that out by 4 times a month and on, it's $600 out of pocket. A primary care visit is now not $116, it's $11.60. That's what they would pay with the co-insurance. $11.60 once they meet that deductible. Specialist moves now from $35 down to the lower rate, and it's a $90 now is what they're paying, because it was $150. I'm sorry, the $35 was a copay. It was $150, so now you're paying $15 to go to that specialist. 6 visits, $90. Outpatient, $75. So out of pocket is $2,034, but they have the HSA of $300, which brings it down to $1,734. Under the PPO, these are all just the copays. Copay for the meds, $30. Copay for the primary, $20 a piece. Copay for the specialist, $35 a piece. And the outpatient copay is $750. Out of pocket is $2,880. In this situation, excluding premiums, it is cheaper for the employee to be on the high deductible $1,250, $2,500. The other is a family of 4, and I'm not going to bore you with walking through all of the numbers, but I calculated it just the same. I thought, what if we had a $2,500 deductible that we had to meet now, but we also have an HSA of $900 to apply towards the out-of-pocket expenses. So in the end, you see a difference, a much lesser difference, but it's still cheaper for this family to be on the $1,250, $2,500 with a HSA of $900 than on the PPO. So we've looked at cost containment with the health and wellness clinic. We've looked at flexibility and choice. We have some options that we can add back in to provide some flexibility and choice. The last area of concern was the competitiveness of the plan. If we were to look at our competitiveness, we did go out and we surveyed all 10 of our benchmark cities. Embarrassingly, Peoria didn't respond right away, so we had to get those numbers. later today. So those aren't in these charts, but I got them now. So I'm going to make sure that we talk about them a little bit. But we did go out and survey our benchmark cities, and I'm going to hold this up here so I can see it. Under HMO, Glendale, Chandler, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Surprise, and Gilbert has a hybrid. It's kind of a funky one. So we had counted them both in HMO and PPO because we couldn't really tell which one to count them in, so we gave them a point in both. And Gilbert has an EPO. And when I say an EPO, that is an HMO in a self-funded plan. You can't call an HMO in a self-funded plan. You can't call it HMO because that's a fully funded plan. So when you hear EPO, that is an HMO, only it's in a self-funded environment. And they have an EPO, but they have a PPO provider network for the state of Arizona only. So we kind of called it both. PPOs, we Buckeye, Avondale, Tempe, Glendale, Scottsdale, Gilbert, Surprise, and Phoenix. So, cities have multiple plans. High deductibles, Avondale, Phoenix, Tempe, and Scottsdale. Peoria, because if you don't respond to me, I'm going to tell all your dirty secrets. Peoria, they did something interesting since I left. They actually took the high deductible plan of the $1,500 and the $3,000. That's their entry level plan. Their high deductible plan is entry level. Then you can buy up to a PPO with a $500 deductible, which is going to cost you more. And then you can buy up to the EPO, or the HMO, as we would call it here. So that is what's going to cost the employees the most in premiums. So they totally flipped everything around. But they do have a high deductible plan now, and PPO with a $500 deductible, and then the EPO. So most popular plans, the HMO with many of the cities, our benchmark cities. And when we say popular plans, this is the ones when you see those numbers that we compare our premiums to. This is what we compare them to. We compare them to the HMO and the PPO. Whatever cities they tell us is their most popular plan with employees, those are the premiums that we use. So many of our cities, Glendale, Chandler, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Surprise, and that funky Gilbert hybrid is included in those calculations, along with the PPO of Buckeye, Avondale, and Tempe.
Councilman Campbell? I have a question. Did any of the cities tell you what HMO they had? Or did they just respond, we have HMO and we have PPO?
You mean as far as the providers? Mm-hmm. That's coming up on the...
Oh, sorry.
Did I miss it? No. Okay,
I'm sorry.
Okay, it is coming up.
Okay, never mind.
But good
then.
question.
Thank you.
So how much premium do employees pay for health care? When we look at the $41.37 is a monthly charge, and what we did was we took the per paycheck charge, our premium multiplied that by 26 and then divided it by 12 to get a monthly. So on the average for those most popular plans that we just talked about, our employee only is $41.37 a month. The average is $76.60 a month, and we updated these with the numbers that we know. As far as anybody that was willing to talk about what increases that they anticipate. So this is the most recent information that we could get. Family for Goodyear is $276.25 per month, and the average is $300.07. And you can see that it varies. Again, Peoria, shame on them, they didn't respond, but I can get you those numbers if you want them.
So does this mean we're competitive with the other cities? That's
Yes.
the question, because the other night, the big question was, we have to keep employees, and they're going to be unhappy and go to these other cities because they have better plans than we have. And
Yes,
so
we're competitive with our most popular plans. Now, the popular plan for one city could be a PPO, but we use that information in calculating this. So we use their most popular plans. Here, Councilmember Campbell is the answer to your question. For Buckeye, Phoenix, Tempe, and us use Cigna. Blue Cross Blue Shield, Glendale, Chandler, Phoenix, Surprise, and Avondale. And Scottsdale has Aetna.
Would Blue Cross Blue Shield be the PPO?
It would be their provider for all of their it could
everything.
be the PPO
Okay.
or whatever.
Thank you.
Yes. And when and just to explain a little bit further, Blue Cross Blue Shield, that could be either fully funded or self-funded. Peoria is self-funded, but they use the Blue Cross Blue Shield network. So it could be fully funded or self-funded, but Avondale, Surprise, Phoenix, Chandler, and Glendale do use Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time because there's a lot of slides here to kind of just go over how we compare with drug co-pays. We're close on all of those if I'm just looking at the average and comparing it to Goodyear. If I go too fast, please let me know. Primary and specialist co-pays, you can see that we're right in line for the average. For urgent co-pays, I think this, we're a little bit higher, 50.46 for urgent co-pays. And emergency co-pays, a little bit higher there. In-out patient deductibles, $750, again, we're higher there in those three areas. So I do have some updates as to what anticipated increases of what other agencies are looking at, anywhere from a 30% increase, and like I said, ours is about a 6.61 with the current plan. Many communities out there, and I can't speak of some of them because they haven't told their employees, but they said, you know, we're looking at a 30% increase and we're going straight to a high deductible. That's all we're doing. Others are 10%, some are a little lower than ours. So with the 6.61% increase, that was doable with the renewal. There are many, many ways we can slice and dice the plan designs and the co-pays and the premiums and all of that. A lot of it comes down to what's important to our organization and what we want to pay and what employees want to pay. I think next year a recommendation would be to go out to bid and do a better job in our communication with employees and staff and council and all of that. But for now, we have the three options that we've brought to you to keep it the way it is. Always expand the clinic. That's kind of on the table. We would recommend that. But for your consideration, do we add back and keep the $1,250, $2,500 high deductible plan, or do we look at the option to choose the PPO with the employee buy-up? And that's my presentation.
Yes, Councilman Pizzillo.
Could you go back to the slide, impact of check after taxes at 28%?
Sure.
Right there. As I look at it, when we talk about the $1,250, $2,500, $2,400, $4,800, and I see the difference that you have there as far as the premiums are concerned, it almost doesn't make sense to take the $2,448 unless I'm missing something there when I see these prices from a cost standpoint versus, again, based on your recommendation, is to go with the 12. If you say you got to lump them into three, to give them an option of the PPO if they want to buy up, but to me the $1,250, $2,500, and the $2,400, $4,800, I'd rather see them keep the $1,250 because there's not that big of a difference. So if somebody wants to keep their doctor, and you know the dollar amount after they pay the copay, if they don't want to buy up with the additional PPO, is probably the better, in my view, is probably the better deal to go. To go with, you say you only go three. If you go with the HMO $1,250 and $2,400, that would kind of defeat the purpose if you don't give the PPO option. And to make it $2,448 to me doesn't make any sense because the price difference between the $1,250 and the $2,500 is not that significant. So I guess that's my 2 cents worth as far as kind of tying into your recommendation, I guess, on that last page, because it doesn't make sense. If you're going to drop anything, it'd be the $2,448.
So you're saying option one?
Yeah, I'm saying the one that saying keep the HMO, give them an option on the PPO, and the $1,250 and the $2,500.
And it would be dropped the $2,400 and the $4,800. Yeah. Now, the more employees are in the $2,400, $4,800 than are in the $1,250, $2,500, or the current $1,200, $2,400. We have more employees in that high deductible plan than we do in that mid deductible plan.
But I'm looking at what they're coming out of their check after taxes, and the price, it doesn't make any sense from a dollar and cent standpoint, because you got to make up another $1,200 at the low end of single, and you're only paying another. Actually, you're saving 60 cents a pay on that. You know, I mean, the difference is sizable.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when you look at the numbers and you see that, it, to me, from a financial standpoint, doesn't make any sense, $24.48, if you're paying what you're paying here for the $1,250, $2,500.
Okay.
That's just my perception of what I'm looking at when you put it all together and you look at what you're paying here for your premiums.
Now, we did not run this through the provider, so I'm not sure if that would change things, because again, they look at current enrollments and they project, you know, what they anticipate the gravitation to the different plans will be. So we would need to go back and run that through the provider to see what impact that might have.
I thought that was the recommendation on the last sheet. Oh, it wasn't?
No,
Okay.
no. The recommendation on the last sheet is either the HMO and the 2,400, 4,800. That's the first proposal. Or do the HMO, the 1,250, and the 2,400. Or do the HMO, the 2,400, and the PPO.
Councilman Loretano?
Okay, I hear a little confusion here going on, and I think we had the same confusion last time. On the 2,400, both of the high deductible plans, you get to pick your doctor, right?
Yes.
So you get the independence and you get to choose your doctor. You get the choice.
Yes.
Okay, and those, since they're high deductible plans, you have less of a monthly out. I want to say both of them. If I look at the family plan, we have less of a monthly per a paycheck hit, right?
Yes.
And on both of the high deductible plans, shall we say, you can also, you end up, from the figures you ran, your examples, you would actually end up paying less out of pocket, correct?
Employees who have more medical needs find it actually more cost effective for them to be in a high deductible plan than the PPO, because your co-pays continue. They're going to continue, and you're going to pay and pay and pay. Once you hit that co-insurance, it drops down to that 10% co-insurance. And so instead of paying $20 for a primary care visit, you're paying $11.60. That's
So
kind of an
you're not
average.
paying a full 1,000. It's prorated. You work
Per
your way up
visit.
to that
Yeah.
1,000. And the city is still kicking in money for each of those two plans for
Yes.
the HSA.
For the HSA. Something else, and I want to point out too, with the PPO, there isn't an out-of-network. So if you go out-of-network, you're paying 100%. In the two high deductible plans, you do have an out-of-network. It's a double the deductible, but you do have an out-of-network option.
What would be considered out of network?
Out of the bigger PPO network. So it'd have to be someone not affiliated with Cigna,
So
outside their network.
Yeah, and my understanding is, you know, from my doctors at Cigna, a lot of people are out of network because Cigna doesn't apparently pay as quick as some of the, like Blue Cross Blue Shield. So but they do have an out of network price under the high
deductible plans, yes. Now with PPO, that doesn't apply.
Okay, so if you're in the PPO and you want to go to Doc X because you really like Doc X because they're a specialist and they're out of network, and Doc X charged $10,000 for a procedure, you pay all $10,000. You're on the hook.
Yes.
You might as well not have insurance. That's not good. And then one more question: when you put your money in your health savings account, you get a tax break putting it in there too, don't you?
It goes in tax free. It does show up on your taxes. Like when I fill out my taxes, I have to show that the city put the money in. But when it comes out, then I can use it. You know, it's comes out of there. And I want to make sure I say this without taxes when it comes out. Okay. I wanted to make sure I verified that. The other thing with the high deductible plan, and I use myself as an example, I don't go to the doctor a lot. I have family at $2,400, $4,800. The city puts $1,800 into that HSA. I let it ride. And so
Just rolls over.
I am saving for a catastrophe, a big emergency. And so what I don't use, it stays there. It stays there year after year after year.
Okay, I guess where I am on it when we're talking about it is I liked what you presented before. I was fine with that, but if we're going to add one in, I'd just add in another one of the high deductible, give that choice in the clinic hours, and I'm fine. I just don't see the PPO. It just doesn't seem to make financial sense, I guess, is where I'm at.
Councilman Stipp.
Thank you for going through this effort. I appreciate it. The PPO, we're suggesting the employee pick up the entire increase.
That is the recommendation in order not to add any more dollars to the current budget. There's the option, if the council so chooses, to approach that differently, but the suggestion was to have the employee pick up the difference.
Okay. And I think you said earlier that the majority of our employees are on the 2448?
Of the two high deductible plans. That's not counting in your current CMG plan.
Okay.
If you were just comparing the two high deductibles.
So the high deductible plan of 40, and I'm going to use the numbers that are on the slide. It says $4,800 family. It's like toward the beginning. Slide 8.
I'll just keep going until you tell me to stop.
That one.
That one.
Okay, so nope, sorry. One more. 9, advance.
Okay, I don't have numbers on here, so again.
Go forward.
That one.
Nope.
Oh, then it's beginning.
Got to go forward.
Oh, sorry. It's
other-
getting late.
the other
So
for- the other forward.
Okay, now tell me when to stop. Right there?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Percentage increase,
That
loss
one.
ratios?
That one.
Okay.
Bingo. Okay. So the $4,800 family, which is the highest high deductible that we have, also has the highest loss ratio. And this is the one that we wanted to, that we were suggesting we add in, and we're suggesting we leave this in. Is that correct?
That's correct, because with the current design, the plan design, there is no co-insurance. So as part of the recommendations from the committee as we move forward with this was to add in the co-insurance of, it was $1,000 and $2,000, and that was changed to $500 and $1,000. Because once you got to the deductible, everything above that was paid, and that's why you see the loss ratio. Like I said, two kinds of employees go in there, the healthy and the ones that have medical needs.
Okay, so the 2,400 family, which is roughly the new proposal.
That's the same, the 2,448, but that's the employee.
The 2,400 family that's at 137%.
Oh, the 2,400 family. I'm sorry. That's now the 2,500. But yes,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
the 2,500. So that's the one that we're suggesting we go to, with the co-insurance as well, to drop that loss ratio down.
That currently has a co-insurance to it, but it has a higher co-insurance and fewer employees on it.
Okay.
Now,
And all of this is great, but Cigna hasn't signed off on any of it.
Nothing has been signed off on it. This is current loss ratios from July to March. We had some really good months and we had some not so good months. If you go before July, we didn't have some good months, and that was all across the board. So the CMG is looking pretty good because we had some good months within that July to March timeline. So this is a snapshot in time of our loss ratios.
And the CMG is not the HMO.
The CMG is currently, this is our current loss ratios on our current plan, where it's a HMO platform with the PPO and the sweep account.
Okay. And there's no keeping that? That wasn't an option this year?
That wasn't an option, no. If we
Cigna
keep
didn't offer it, or we didn't ask for it?
If we keep our current plan design the way we want it right now, it'll be close to another $1 million.
Okay. I think what I think I find extremely helpful was the breakdowns of this is what you have. If this is what ails you, this is what it's going to cost you. That was it's very helpful, because as you look at that, even if you use the family of 4 with your HSA, your out of pocket for these medications and the specialists and all the rest of that is $2,300. And if you're in the high deductible plan, you're spending $3,000. So you're still, that family of four is saving $700 before coinsurance kicks in, which makes it affordable for the employee and keeps the cost with us. So I'm very happy to see that choice, and that's what I'm hoping that we'll add back in is the $1,250, $2,500 plan. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Just a question. Councilman Pizzillo? Cigna hasn't bought off on any of this, is what you tell me.
Well, we have been in conversations with them. And like I said, we got him to drop another point because we've had another good month on the books. So we haven't signed a contract on it. They are prepared to move forward with whatever option we come back to them with, but we don't have a contract, I should clarify.
So what you're saying is, if you say it's better to have 3 plans, 4 plans, you thin it out too much.
With
right?
511 employees, which only 443, I'm looking at Councilmember Campbell, because I gave her the number earlier, so I'm looking for a nod there. Employees are in our plans, 443. That spreads them really, really thin, and so it would be not fiscally to our advantage to do that.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand. The one that's $1,250, is there a reason why it was 50, not 12?
The 1,200 and went to 1,250?
Yeah.
That's because of the changes in the law. In order to offer an HSA with a high deductible plan, you had to have a minimum 1,250.
Okay. All right, so that had to do with...
That'll be kind of increasing as we go forward. We'll have to keep an eye on that.
Okay, so that had to do with the new affordable health care. All right, with the $1,250, $2,500, that's 10%. 10% copay once above the $1,250 with a maximum additional of
1,000.
And what is it for the 500?
For the
2,500.
2,500, 2,000. That's what we have currently in place.
Okay, I thought
we did the other on the 2,400 and the 4,800. We didn't have coinsurance there. We recommended 1,000 and 2,000, and it came back to a 500, 1,000.
Okay, why is this one? This one's 1,000 and 2,000. The 1,250 and the 2,500.
We left it the same. I mean, we didn't make any recommendations to change the coinsurance at this point.
Okay, because that's what we were discussing with the other one was
The high.
500 and 1,000. So, okay, so that's my only concern. Why is that going to affect the plan? Because we had talked about initially when we went to the 500 to the 1,000, that was within our parameters. Is this?
Let's check it out, and we'll find out if we can move it to
I'm
500
just kind of curious on that
because
because we
would
went
be.
500 and 1,000. Now it's 1,000, 2,000, and we talked about that in the last meeting.
With
so
the
that's kind of
with the 1 point reduction, it's about a $65,000 savings. Putting that plan back in will cost $30,000, but we're looking at that as part of that $65,000. So we can check to see what.
I'm just curious on it. The other one that's 24 and 48, is that 2 and 4? Is that double?
The deductible?
Yeah,
No,
10%, 2 and 4.
It's 5 and 1,000. 10% on 500 and 1,000 on the 2,400 and 48.
So on the 1,250, it's 1,000, and 1,000 for the and 2,000 for the 25. But if you
Yes.
go to the 24, it's only
It's less.
500.
Yes.
Why is
And
I'm missing
because
something
we
there.
currently have, and we weren't going to add back in that 1,250, 2,500. The current coinsurance is 1,000, 2,000. We recommended 1,000, 2,000 on the high, and there was direction to move it back to the 500, 1,000. We can go back to Cigna and see what the impact is.
I'm just curious on that, only because I'm wondering if we get inconsistency with what we're doing with the 2448 and the 1250 and 2500. Now, I don't know if that's going to throw it into a tizzy or not, but it just seems odd to me with the 2448 being less than the 1250, unless I'm missing something there with the rest of my council members. So
We'd be happy to go back and explore that further, and like I said, we can design this a million different ways. It's what meets the needs of the organization, the employees, and what we can afford. And so we're happy to go back and check
I'm just
on
looking
that.
for consistency between the two plans. If the council decides that they want to go with the HMO high deductible. You know, I do the numbers on the PPO, and it looks to me like even if they pull the entire amount and you look at family, that's an additional $100 a month after tax and just net, and you multiply that by 24, that's $2,400 out of their pocket before they ever get into the health care. So, yeah, I can't see that as a viable option for anybody under that scenario.
Vice Mayor?
I just want to say thank you for going back and getting that 1%. And I also think that extending, obviously at $7,600 an hour, we can't extend too much on that facility, but I think the clinic is certainly a good way to go. And I think, as you've stated, a great deal of our employees are using it. I was there today. So, you know, it's a nice facility, and I think it's doing its due for normal things.
Okay. Councilman Barber?
I just wanted to thank you for going back and looking at the numbers, and then with the presentation, really putting everything side by side so that we can look at that. I really appreciate your time and effort in doing that.
Welcome. Any other comments? Yes.
Yeah, again, I want to echo, I appreciate you going back and look at the numbers. And from my perspective, it seems to me the HOL and the high deductible, if you got to go with 3, is the way to go. I'm just looking for consistency on the 10% deductible, that's all. And that's the only reason why I'm asking that, is that we're consistent one way or the other.
Okay. That's it?
Oh, I'd like to thank, if I may, thank you, Winnette, and thank you, City Manager, for meeting with me and getting all my questions answered long before we came in tonight. I appreciate the time and the extra work you did for me in answering all my questions. Appreciate it.
So in summary, Mayor, is it okay if I summarize? What I hear is go back, the HMO, the 2 high deductibles, and go back to Cigna on the co-insurance on the $1,250, $2,500, see if we can get it to the $500 and $1,000 and what that impact will be, if I heard. Okay?
I think we heard the same thing. Thank you very much for the presentation. We really appreciate it and all the consideration that's gone into this. I didn't mention at the last, at our regular meeting, but we have on 5/20 a CFD meeting at 5 o'clock and the regular meeting at 6. So with that, the meeting's adjourned.